IELTS Cast, Episode 30.
You're listening to IELTS Cast, the podcast that puts you in touch with successful IELTS candidates from around the world. Listen and learn as they explain how they achieved Band 7, 8 and even 9. Now, here's your host, Ryan.
Hello and welcome to IELTS Cast. Today I'm speaking with Vinod, an IELTS candidate from Mumbai, India. Vinod recently took his IELTS and scored an overall band of 7 with individual bands, listening band 8, reading band 7, writing band 6, and speaking band 6. Hi Vinod, welcome to IELTS Cast.
Thanks, Ryan.
Vinod, why don't we start by talking about your relationship to the IELTS? So why did you take the IELTS?
Yeah, basically I took the academic reading section of IELTS test. So it was in March I decided to take these exams. So basically I took these exams for my higher education studies in Germany. So what I was requiring of is a minimum band 6. So pretty much I scored well scored in this thing. And yeah.
Okay, so and now you're going to study in Germany. I guess it's kind of interesting. Do most German schools require the IELTS for entrance?
Yes, most of the schools are allowed this test. Some of them also ask for GRE or TOEFL, but most
Right.
of the at least 90% of the schools ask for IELTS.
I see. And do you have to take any German proficiency exam at all?
No, not at all.
Okay, so your courses are completely conducted in English, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. So how long between the moment when you decided you were going to take the IELTS and when you actually took the IELTS, how much time transpired?
Yeah, it was almost, in the month of Jan, and I decided to take these exams. And I got some information from internet that these exams are held frequently in the batches of 1 or 2 weeks. So I just logged into the British Council site and saw what is the difference between each test. So it was around 1 or 1.5 week of difference. So I wanted to take this exam ASAP because immediately after this exam I had to apply for universities, and they usually ask for your band, what band you have received. So on February starting week itself, I've registered for this exam. So I got a bandwidth of almost a month to prepare for the exams.
I see. I see. So now it sounds as though you have an extended relationship with the English language. Did you grow up speaking English in your household?
Yeah, right from my school days, from my primary education, secondary education, all have been done in English language.
Right.
So this IELTS exam was a bit okay for me. I mean, I was very comfortable with the exam.
I see. Right. Okay. So now let's get to the tips and tricks that you mentioned in your email. If you want, we can just maybe start with the listening. What would you like to
Yeah.
share about the listening?
Yeah, thanks, Rian. So basically, first of all, thanks to you because when I started with these studying for the IELTS exam. So when I researched in Google and YouTube, so your videos were among the top list in the for the IELTS exams list. So thanks to you, I actually listened to prior candidates who had already interviewed with you. So I also took the tips and tricks that they had mentioned. Like one of the interviewers told that there is a gap of 1 minute and 50 seconds between each of the sections of the listen test. So you can utilize it to see the sections 3 and 4. So basically I also did the same thing. I utilized this time seeing the sections of section 3 and 4, which is usually harder as compared to the initial sections. So as soon as when the clock started ticking, so I immediately looked into these sections. So looking into these sections means basically highlighting some of the keywords, or suppose example there is a date, or there is a highlighting word in a sentence. So you can just underline those sentences, but uh, things should be taken care that you do not underline each and every word of the sentence. Otherwise, at the end of the test, it will be very difficult for you to judge which word is important for you. So you can just highlight some of the important of the keywords. So as soon as you are listening, so you will be able to anticipate the answer as the flow goes.
Right.
And mind you, this listening test is very important, because it's one of the out of the four modules. This I think listening test is very scoring. So one of the important tip is one of the important tip, as I have already mentioned. You should as soon as these the test starts, you get some time to look into the answers. So yeah, one thing that usually interviews don't mention is that this IELTS reading exam is almost similar, in fact same as what we listen to the CD that Cambridge IELTS books have been provided to us. So we need not listen to the initial announcements that they do at the starting of the listening test. So we can just keep on listening, but at the back of the mind, and we can utilize that time to just go through the questions on the section 3 and section 4. And basically you should be able to judge for which sections you find problem, and for that we actually need enough practice. So suppose for my exam, on the section which I lagged uh, was showing it was a map, and the speaker was showing the directions in the map, and we had to identify each of the, suppose there was the restaurant, suppose there was a shop, so we had to identify which shop and which restaurant, and accordingly we had to answer. So initial 5 to 6 second I missed this listening test, and for that whole section 4 to 5 questions, my 4 to 5 questions went wrong. So clearly listening, and be attentive to the listening is very important for this test. Even if you miss the 4 to 5 seconds of this test, the whole section can go wrong. Especially this that has happened in my case. So you should be very concentrated and very attentive while listening to these things. Secondly, if possible, one trick which I used was, whenever the speaker said a sentence, and if I found two more than one word in a sentence which are the potential candidates of being an answer, I just write it down all the three words in the besides the question itself. So while the speaker is initially saying the things, so you can just anticipate the answer by just judging the answer. I mean, you can directly read the question, and you can judge it whether it should be a noun or it should be an adjective, or it might be a date also. So you can, in the bracket itself, I quickly wrote it that it will be a date or it will be an adjective,
Right.
something like that. Yeah. So you need to anticipate the answer from the starting itself, and it should be very quickly done.
Okay, great advice.
Secondly, yeah. So secondly, as I already said, you can also write 2 3 answers for a same question, and by the end at the end of the listening test, you get enough time. I mean, enough as in you almost get 4 times the time that you actually need to transfer the answer into the answer sheet.
Okay.
You get almost 10 minutes to transfer the answer.
Right.
So like suppose if you have written 2 3 answers for the same question, and by the end of the test you get enough time to like validate which of the word will be the proper answer for the questions. You can do things like that.
So it sounds as though your approach was for questions that you weren't 100% sure of. You wrote more than one answer, and then
Yes.
and at the end you went back and then you sort of reviewed in your mind, and then you decided which answer you felt was stronger.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting because I mean I haven't heard that strategy before. The other ones that you had mentioned are great strategies, and I think that several people are using them at this moment. But the whole idea of writing more than one answer and then reviewing in your mind. But do you think that that's an effective approach in the sense that when you go back, when you have the 10 minutes at the end, you have to try to remember what you heard. Do you know what I mean? Do you think that plays into the accuracy of the answer that you choose?
Yeah, actually, this strategy is not always applicable. It is only for the answers that you are unsure of.
Okay.
So basically, most of the questions that we listen in that are to be answered in the listening test are almost easy. So these strategies only applicable for answers that we are like unsure of. So we can just very quickly here to write all the possible two to three words, and at the end of the test you get enough time to like validate which will be your perfect answer.
I see.
I did it only for 2-3 questions, and I think those 2-3 questions were mostly correct. Only thing I was lagged was in the directions part. So basically, the speaker was saying there was an area in which she was pointing out to some pointing out in terms of directions, and I initially lost some of the words from her. So 4 to 5 questions I missed that.
I see.
But I tried it, but I'm not sure. I mean, I would have got band 9 in that. But so basically, you can what you can do is each of the listening tests have four parts. So you can judge prior to the test that in which of the part you are lacking behind, so that at the actual test itself you can be very attentive for that section.
I see. Vinod, I'm curious. You took several practice tests. You mentioned before you engaged this test. Were your listening marks on the practice tests similar to Band 8? Were they in around that area?
Yeah, I mean, in the listening test, I almost scored band 9 also.
Ah, okay.
Most of the tests. Prior to that, one key thing on in IELTS test is do lots of practice. I mean, I got a bandwidth of almost a month, but practicing was also quite difficult for me because right now I'm working, and I usually get time only in the weekends, only on Saturdays and Sunday.
Right.
So practicing was quite difficult for me, but I did manage my time. So whenever we register for the IELTS exam, we get a book from them, and we usually get only one book from them. And I got this Cambridge IELTS book 8, I guess I got. So initially I solved the book itself in the very first 2 days itself. So each of the book contains 4 exams, and I solved from book 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 and 8. So I almost solved a 24 exam mock test prior to taking this exam.
Wow. Okay. Good for you. Yeah. That's. I mean, I also tell candidates that are preparing. And of course, I mean, every situation is different, but you should be hitting in your practice exams the marks that you need consistently. So maybe 5, 6, 7 exams, you're hitting the mark that you need, and then you have the confidence when you go into the examination room that you're going to walk out with the mark that you require. So it sounds, Vinod, like you walked out of the listening not surprised that you got Band 8 because you had been hitting Band 8, Band 8.5, Band 9 on your practice exams.
Yeah.
Okay, terrific. Now tell us about the reading. What can you tell us about that section and your experience with it?
Yeah, basically, reading section is quite challenging because in a hour you need to read 3 sections, and each of the sections will be having almost 900 words. So initially, I practiced. What strategy I used was, I used to read the passage and then look for the answers. But this strategy, I usually what I do did in all of the sections was, I used to keep a note of timing that I'm using. So initially, when I tried reading tests, so I was taking almost 35 minutes. Minimum to minimum, I was taking 30 minutes for each passage, and which wasn't acceptable, because 30 minutes means in the actual test you will be taking, you will be attending only two sections out of the three in an hour. So this wasn't acceptable. So prior to 1 week prior to the exam, I saw one of your videos, and there the guy was saying that uh, I think you asked them directly that what should be used, directly answering the reading the passage and then answering the questions, or the strategy that directly looking the question and then finding out in the passage itself. So what just a week before the exam, I tried saw this video and I just gave an attempt, that what happens if I've directly looked into the question and directly searched it into the passage itself. So this method actually worked. Initially, I took 25 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes in the reading section, but gradually within a week time, I was able to take 18 to 20 minutes for each passage.
Great.
So yeah, so which was acceptable. But this doesn't apply to all the candidates. I mean, you should evaluate yourself. Some of the candidates find, in fact, one of my friend also find reading the passage and then answering the question quite comfortable as compared to directly looking the answers into the passage itself.
I see.
So it depends from candidates to candidates, but what in which method he is comfortable with. But only one thing that you should keep in mind, you should continuously assess your scores and your timings with what you did prior. Initially I took 30 to 35 minutes, and at the end, by the end of the exam, I was able to do each passage in 18 to 20 minutes, so which was good for me.
Okay, great. And your practice exams, what sort of bands were you hitting on those?
Yeah, in the practice exams, I was hitting a band 7 or band 8.
Okay, great.
So, reading tips, as I said, that you can directly look for the answers in the passage itself. So, as everybody knows this, the set of questions that we get, if the first answer lies in the first paragraph, then the second answer will be in the second paragraph itself. It is in a continuous flow. So I think this method of directly searching for the answer in the passage itself is also good. Also, candidates who would like to read a passage and answer the question. So what would be advisable will be to have a gist of the passage and not read each and every sentences. So having a gist of the passage means under each and every sentence you can just underline keywords and then look out for the questions that you want to answer, so that you can directly search for these answers in the passage itself, and you will be having some highlighters or some pointers in the passage, so okay, you can directly map the questions into the passage itself.
I see. Now, just so that I've got everything correct here, so you mentioned that this strategy of going over the questions first and then searching for the answers enhanced your speed significantly. But did that enhance your band, or did your band remain the same, except that you were able to score that band in less time?
No, it didn't affected my band.
Okay.
Initially, but initially I was taking 35 minutes. So this practice test we are taking at home. But
I see. Yeah.
So 35 minutes to 30 to 35 minutes.
Right.
Even then I was scoring band 7. But in the actual test, if I would have taken that much time, I would have been able to solve only 2 or 3 passages.
Right, I see. So in that sense, I see. But it didn't enhance the accuracy of the questions that you were answering. But no, I see what you're saying, though. I mean, of course, in the actual exam, you would only be able to complete 2 of the readings, and thus that would bring your band down. But I was just wondering if it was helpful to the accuracy of your questions. But you say that it wasn't really. So okay, great. Now let's move on to the writing section. So you scored a band 6, which is a very respectable mark. What's the story there?
Yeah, basically, writing section totally depends from candidates to candidates. I mean, some of them say that you should attend the section two as compare first and then the section one. So because section two consists almost two-third of the marks as compared to the section one. But I think you should attend the first section, the small sections first, and then the essay later on, because usually what the first section consists of is just you will be getting a graph or a table, and then you will be able to like, then you will have to just write 150 words, and which is just quite simple. In fact, I was able to complete that first section in 20 to 25 minutes, I guess. So but this wasn't acceptable actually, because what I actually planned was to complete in less time as compared to the other plan, as compared to the next section. But somehow initially, while like preparing the answers for the first as well as the second section, I what I did was, in the initial 10 minutes, I prepared some notes for the section 1 as well as for the essay, the section 2. And then when I start writing the question that I got was a table in which some rankings of some comparison between countries was made in terms of I think it was IT and industrial sectors and much things like that. So I use more time as compared, which I actually planned for. I actually planned for almost 15 minutes for 5 minutes for preparing the notes, the important points, and 15 minutes for writing the answer. But I actually took 20 to 25 minutes, I guess, for this first section itself. And then for the second section, I got less time, less time. Even though I have already prepared the answers, prepared the some pointers and notes for the second section, but I got less time. And second section was about advertising sales. So I think this essay is already in one of the Cambridge IELTS books, essay. So and I have attempted this essay before also. I would also recommend the viewers who are watching this video to go to Rian's a video on the 10 words that will be required, that you can vocabulary words that you can use in your essay. You will find it in the YouTube playlist itself. So those vocabulary words were excellent, and I utilized some of these words also in my essay also. But doing more of the vocabulary is also not recommended, because if you like just have a list of 100 words, and if you like think of using all the 100 words in the essay, then it might not be a correct suggestion, because you might end up overusing vocabulary words in your essay, and it can take you off topic as off topic of the essay that you are writing.
Yeah, I'd also just like to point out as well that the video that you referred to, you're right. It's important to use the words in context and not to just try to cram them in as, cram in as many of these words as you can, because that will sound robotic, and it will definitely cause you to lose stylistic marks in the writing.
Yeah. Yeah, actually the examiners also know that the vocabulary words, if you are overusing those vocabulary words, then the examiner will definitely come to know about this thing. So it is not generally not advisable to overuse these words. You can use some of the words, 8 to 10 words, or some of the general words, like the one which you have already shown in the video. So we can use those all of those words are general, and I think most of the words will be can be easily fit into an essay. And in fact, those words are also very generic, and it will be like helpful if you use those words in your essay.
Right.
Yeah. So last point is of course, it's grammar and accuracy of your article. One thing one point which is notable was this fourth point. I wasn't usually when I was used to write an essay. So actually, I'm a technical person, technical side. So whatever I usually write is I try to give some logical explanation and go into the depth of the essay. Initially, I used to I started writing essays like this. But point to be noted is that this is an English level exam. I mean, you'll be checked. Your English language will be checked. So it is not necessary to go give some logical reasoning or logical answers to your the essay you are writing, because you will be assessed based on your grammar and not on your logical reasons. So even if you are unsure of any logical things, then it's fine. But you should be accurate with your grammar, your punctuation marks, your in and a and an articles. Those should be even though these are basic things, but you should be clear with all of these things.
I don't want to make it sound as though a band 6 in writing is low, because it's not. It's a very respectable mark. But what do you think held you back from getting, say, a band 7 or higher?
Yeah, basically, as I said that in the initial task one itself, I took some the initial task one itself. I took some time, and it was almost 20 to 20. I think I took 25 minutes for the task one itself. So
Okay.
I got very less time for this task too. So this is one of the important point that the viewers can think of is, before appearing for the exam, you should just thoroughly make a note of things that the time that you are taking for task 1 and task 2. And if you are taking more time for task 1, then you should definitely attend the task 2 first and then the task 1. Because task 1, we relatively have to write only 150 words, which is almost 3/4 of a page, or one single page. We have usually a big pages in the IELTS exam, so it's almost 3/4 or a one page for the task 1.
Right.
So I actually took 25 minutes for the task 1, and I got then I realized that I have got very less time for the task 2.
I see.
Then I increased my speed, so might be I lose some points in the task 2 itself because of time crunch. So I
Right.
think that was the point. I lose some of the points for the writing essay. Otherwise, I was well prepared for this thing.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Now let's move on to speaking. What can you share?
Yeah, uh, actually, at the after a day itself, my speaking test was there in a five-star hotel. So I had a gap of one day. I got some time to prepare for the test, but what actually happened on the speaking test day was I got choked up, and I had a throat infection.
Oh, well, that doesn't
So
help.
So, I mean, the voice with which I'm currently speaking, that day I was almost like 1/10 or the 2/10 of the voice on that day. So even the IELTS examiner were surprised, and even they weren't knowing what to do, because they were saying that this has happened for the first time. So whenever I was speaking, I was not able to say it loudly, and even the people, the IELTS people to whom which I was consulting with, they weren't also not able to hear me. So they have to come closely, and then I'll have to answer the questions they are asking me. So actually, I proposed them new timing for my speaking test. Basically, for I gave my three exams. I gave on 8th of March. So in the same batch, the speaking tests were scheduled for 10th, 11th, and 9th, 10th, and 11th. So my test was on 10th, and there was also a speaking test for other batch of students on 11th of March. So I proposed them new timings if suitable for them, but certainly they didn't agree to that part. So but they said you just come for the speaking test, and if we find it that the voice is not audible, or it is not understandable, then we can think upon that thing.
I see.
So like when I gone into the exam room, then I spoke this problem to the examiner itself. So she said that it's okay if my voice is very low, because the machine, the this um, speaker, or the on which we speak, is which is used later for examining how the speaker was, is actually used for assessing your test, and rather than what you say to the speaker at that time itself. So what she did was, she increased the volume of that machine, and she said that even if you speak little slow or little low voice, then automatically we will modulate the voice of this device, and we will be able to hear you.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so I was speaking very close to the machine, so that even after the test, they will be all, able to hear the my test. And so yeah, so for this part, it was I was able to resolve the issue was resolved.
I see. Now tell us a bit
Yeah.
about the examiner. Where was she from?
I think I don't remember actually where was she from. She spoke like she is from Mumbai itself, I guess.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so how did you feel? I mean, it sounds as though that they went at length to make you feel comfortable. Did you in fact feel comfortable while you were giving the interview, or did you feel a little bit nervous? Or
Yeah, initially when I entered the room, I was very nervous, because I usually while speaking, I had confidence. I had practiced a lot before the exam, and I was very sure. In fact, some of the people also said that you should record your voice and then listen to you and that correct your voice. I didn't do that, because I was very confident about my speaking test. So, but at the day of the exam, these things happened, and I was lacking any motivation, or I was unsure of how will I be able to give the exam. But somehow the examiner convinced me. She told me that nothing will happen. You just give the interview with a full confidence, and we'll be able to assess you even with this voice. So initially I was very worried about, but then when she told me this, and we had an intro at the initially at the test starting of the test itself, then I was feeling quite comfortable as compared to what I was feeling prior to that.
okay, great. Okay, what sort of advice would you give to somebody that's taken the exam over and over again and cannot hit the band that they need?
Yeah, so one who had taken these exams regularly, I mean more than two or three times. So I think self assessment is very necessary for taking the IELTS exam. You should be able to cope up with the time crunch, because the 2.5 hours of continuous test is very hectic. This I realized at the day of the examination itself. So one advice will be to, prior to giving the exam, you should be like able to, like if even if you are practicing at home, you should be able to sit in front of the listening machine, or whenever you are writing, or whenever you are reading the questions, you should plan, or you should practice for a continuous 2.5 hours, because at the day of the exam, most of these students find it very hectic, because we get a time of like 2 to 3 minutes between each of these sections, but generally the schedule is like very hectic. If it now my test started at 1 p.m, and it I think it ended at 4:30 4 or 4:30 p.m. So 3 to 3.5 hours of schedule is very hectic. So I mean, prior to the exam, or a day prior to the exam, you should like totally focus on continuously that set a time of 2.5 hours, and continuously give a test like you are giving a real test, and then at the end of the exam, then assess yourself.
I see. Okay, that's very good advice, and it sounds like it's in keeping with what you were saying before, which is that practice is at the heart of everything, and that
Yes.
that the real way to score well in this examination is to be thoroughly prepared.
Yes, exactly. Secondly, what would be advisable, it is like today we have internet and we have lots of materials for the practicing the IELTS exam. So initially, what I did was search each and every site for IELTS exam. So one was saying that you should use this method, one was saying that you should use this method, and it was like. Completely complex atmosphere for me, because at the starting, at the practicing itself, I was not able to decide which method I should follow and which not. So what would be advisable is you should go through sites, some of the sites, not all the sites, but some of the sites, and then you should start taking the methods that have been mentioned. Like suppose for example, the reading test, as I have already spoken to, some of them like to read the passage and then answer the question, and some of them like to directly see the question and then hit on the answer itself. So what candidate should do is you should note the method that has been shown in the websites, or you can also find the methods in the this Cambridge IELTS books itself. So one book I will definitely recommend to the IELTS candidates is Action Plan for IELTS. This is
Okay.
also one additional book that comes with the Cambridge IELTS exam books. So you'll have to definitely you will have to purchase this book. So for each and every section, for under the reading or the writing or the listening sections that we experience in the at the day of the exam, each and every section will have a method that you can use. So what people can do is just go through these websites or these notes, and at the end prepare a LMR or last minute revision notes or something like that. And at the prior to the day of the exam, you should keep it in mind only these last revision points, or these, and the same should be replicated at the day of the exam. So like the essay structure that I mentioned in this interview. So if you are planning for a structure that you will write in an essay and at the day of exam, you should have a last minute revision notes, that prior to the day of the exam you should be able to view this you should have a basic gist of the points of the notes that you have made, your own notes, and that the same should be applied on the day of the exam.
Okay, very good
Yeah.
advice. Vinod, I want to
Yeah.
thank you on behalf of everyone listening for the wonderful advice that you shared today, and I want to wish you the best of luck with your studies in Germany.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You're welcome.
Thank you for downloading from IELTS.com. Have you achieved an overall band of 7 or higher on the IELTS exam? Why not contribute to the podcast? Contact Ryan at his blog, IELTS.com.